It's your boy J Steph, man. We back at it with another YouTube reaction. It's another UK drill documentary featuring your boy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all rather watch it with me anyway, bro. So, yeah, bro. We about to get into this shit. It's the ZTs versus the 98s. I gotta see what the hell is going on. I gotta get deeper into the beef. You know what I'm saying? This is actually ZT is basically what Top Boy and them used. That's what the gang was basically based off of. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, tap that link down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy J Steph. We about to watch this together, man. Let's go.
The London borough
Shout
of
out UK
Hackney
Drill
is
Plug.
a borough located within East London. The borough is among the 5 deadliest and most dangerous London boroughs. In 2023, the crime rate within Hackney was 135 crimes per 1,000 people, which is surprisingly higher than surrounding boroughs. Hackney's crime rate actually comes in 29% higher than London's, being 105 crimes per 1,000 people. The population of Hackney is around 279,000 residents, and from an outside look in, on the surface, the borough doesn't seem bad. However, what a lot of people that live in and around Hackney don't know about is the disturbing gang war that has spanned decades and has resulted in kidnappings, shootings, and murders, all being linked to the ongoing war. This being the gang war between 98s based in Homerton and ZT based around the London Fields area within Hackney. These two gangs.
Do you see how these niggas got these boys surrounded, boy? How the fuck y'all in the middle of all that? Damn.
Gangs have actually had a historic beef that has spanned over 3 decades, being one of London's oldest postcode rivalries. Now, the London Field Boys, or ZT, is a large street gang based within the London Fields area in Hackney E8. The ZT gang is mainly based around the Blackstone estate and the Moorland estate. However, they also operate in other surrounding estates. The older generation of ZT is known as the London Field Boys, or LFB for short, whilst the younger generation is known as ZT, or Zero Tolerance. The gang is also referred to as Mashtown and simply Fields. Anyways, the London Field Boys was originally created as an offshoot from the older Hackney Boys, as the London Field Boys made up most of the Hackney Boys in membership. It would be around this time, being the 1990s and 2000s, that the London Field Boys would be significant in the gang war between TMD or Tottenham Mandem and the Hackney Boys. It would be around the late 2000s that members of the London Field Boys would create a music group, this being referred to as Mashtown, with this group being affiliated with the London Field Boys. Following the gang war between the Hackney Boys and TMD, younger generations of both gangs became more prominent within the streets, one of these being the London Field Boys, which became prominent within the streets and had begun to beef the nearby Holly Street and Homerton gangs. In recent years, a younger offshoot gang to the London Field Boys would become a lot more significant in the streets, this gang being referred to as ZT, or Zero Tolerance, which is the gang that was portrayed in Netflix's successful show Top Boy.
ZTs stand for Zero Tolerance. For any other gang, for anyone else shooting on the streets, and it all work for me.
However, we can't talk about ZT without talking about their main rivals, 98s. On the opposing side of ZT is a large street gang known as 98s. The 98s gang is actually 2 small street gangs based on different postcodes within Hackney, these being the postcodes E9 and E8, hence the name 98s. The gang based on the E9 postcode is known as Niners. However, the gang is also referred to as Homerton, as that is the main territory that the gang takes up. The Niners gang goes all the way back to the 1990s, with the Hackney Boys originally drawing members from E9. The current Niners gang from E9 was originally an offshoot gang from older gangs based around the E9 postcode. An example of this was CBR, or Certified Balance Road, with this gang sharing an alliance with E5, this being referred to as 925. This alliance was formed around 2007 and was the affiliation between Balance Road based within E9 and Pembury within the E5 postcode, with these two gangs still being affiliated after nearly 20 years. The Niners gang is affiliated with Pembury, Hoxton, and most importantly Holly Street. Now, Holly Street, or the Holly Street Boys, are a street gang based around the Holly Street estate within the E8 postcode. This gang is very closely allied with Niners, with these two gangs making up the larger 98s gang. The Holly Street gang has been operating since the 1980s. However, the gang has gone by different names throughout the years. One of the more significant names was that of Rowdy Bunch, which was a group of young members from surrounding areas, and it would be the younger generation to Rowdy Bunch, this being known as Junior Rowdy Bunch, that would then become referred to as Holly Street. The Holly Street gang is actually known to be one of the biggest and richest street gangs within the London borough of Hackney. In recent years, the Holly Street gang would form a close alliance with nearby Niners, creating the gang 98s, as both gangs have territory on the E9 and E8 postcode. Now, for years, the Holly Street gang has had a rivalry with nearby London Fields, or ZT, with this being known to be one of London's oldest ongoing postcode war, this war spanning from the early 1990s to present day. Prominent members of 98s include Unknown T, who is a part of the Niners set, KO, also also a part of the Niners set, and Billy Billions, who is a part of the Holly Street set within the 98s gang. Now, the 98s gang is affiliated with Hoxton, Pembury, and Essex Road, whilst the 98s gang has beef with nearby EC1, A Road, and most importantly London Fields. However, you may be confused as to why these two gangs have had a deadly rivalry for almost 3 decades that has resulted in multiple people dying. Now, the beef between 98s and ZT was started around the late 1980s and early 1990s, and is alleged to be due to a junior rowdy member allegedly attacking and stabbing a member from the London Fields gang, with this member then being charged with manslaughter. However, this is only alleged, and may be wrong, so if you have any other information, drop it in the comments. Anyways, during the early days of the beef, members associated with London Fields and members associated with 98s would clash, with it being said that there were 30 members of London Fields, and only 10 members of Holly Street, E8, with this clash then turning into one of London's first postcode riots. A lot of these street brawls would occur between London Fields and Holly Street around this time, with it slowly escalating into a more dangerous beef, and it would be around 2003 that the first person would be killed as a result of the rivalry. In 2003, a member of the London Field Boys, known as JD, would begin to gain attention within the streets of Hackney, this mainly being due to the fact that JD's brother was a well-known and respected member of LFB known as CS, who was even alleged to have been the boss of LFB at the time. This then resulting in JD becoming a very loved member of LFB, so it would come as a surprise that in June 2003, JD would sadly fall victim to the streets, with the death of JD marking a war. In June 2003, JD and other LFB members would be on their way home from a street party. The members would walk for a few minutes before arriving at the junction of Lansdowne Drive and Shrubland Road within Hackney. 2 members of Holly Street, these being Pepe and Aaron, would be in a car and would see the LFB members. The Holly Street members would shoot JD in the leg before then shooting him in the chest with a shotgun. The attackers would flee and JD would attempt to escape.
Woo-wee! Oh man, boy, I'm telling you, these niggas be on some MI6 shit, boy. This man, niggas got in the car, saw they op outside, shot him once in the leg, and then finished him off with a sawed-off shot to the chest. MI6, boy, I'm telling you.
JD would actually be able to jump over a wall before collapsing to the ground and being pronounced dead only moments later. Police and emergency services would arrive on the scene and would launch a murder investigation. Both members affiliated with Holly Street would be arrested following this attack, these being Pepe and Aaron. They would both be charged with the murder, and later in 2005 would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 15 years, with one of the members even snitching on the other in order to reduce the time he was sentenced to. Rest in peace, JD.
And then you gonna snitch? Like, what?
The death of JD,
the
beef
high,
between
boy,
Holly Street and London Fields would escalate into a war, with both gangs now having a deadly beef with each other, with members often catching each other. This then resulting in stabbings, shootings, and brawls occurring between each side of the rivalry. It would be around this time that London Fields would also be in a deadly war with the TMD gangs from Tottenham, with this beef also getting dangerous, resulting in the deaths of Marga, WH, and Skip, who was killed only months after JD was killed. However, this isn't the rivalry I'll be discussing in this video. Now, not much is known about the beef following the death of JD, so I'll only really be discussing the main events and drills, and it would be around the early 2010s that a young member of LFB would start to get active within the streets, this member being known as J-Dot, who was only 15 when he would start to gain attention. However, in the following months, rival members would start to notice him, and on his 16th birthday, he would sadly fall victim to the streets, with this incident resulting in members creating ZT or Zero Tolerance in his honor. On the 24th of April 2013, a member of London Fields known as J-Dot would be out celebrating his 16th birthday. At around 3 p.m., J-Dot would be traveling on the 393 bus in North London, when a member of Pembury known as Skid would spot him. The two members would seemingly have a confrontation, before Skid would retrieve a knife and would stab J-Dot multiple times. Skid would flee following the attack, and the bus driver would pull over calling the police. Emergency services would arrive on the scene and would treat J-Dot, before he would be airlifted to a nearby hospital. However, sadly, only hours later, J-Dot would be pronounced dead in the hospital. With a murder investigation being launched following the attack, Skid would be arrested after the murder and would be charged. Later in November 2013, Skid would be found guilty and would be sentenced to 12 years for the murder. Rest in peace, J-Dot. Following the death of J-Dot, his friends would form a new set known as ZT, which has become very popular in the UK drill scene, with rappers like Ballistic, Asco, and Lats dropping songs that gained millions of views. A prominent member of Niners known as V9 would actually show love to J-Dot on Facebook, which just shows that some of these guys used to be friends before the beef got deadly, and they had to choose a side, with V9 beginning to diss D-Dot years later in music, after ZT would get back and kill a loved member of Niners in one of the most brutal and violent ways, with this member being known as J-Dot. Around the end of 2014, a member of 98's known as J-Dot would get close to an 18-year-old girl. The girl would gain J-Dot's trust. However, unbeknownst to J-Dot, she was friends with rival ZT members. And on the 6th of January 2015, the girl would arrange to meet J-Dot in Hackney. When J-Dot would arrive, rival ZT members Trey, Psycho, and Asbo would attack him. However, luckily J-Dot would be able to flee the attack.
Oh, that's homeboy that was off of SJ's album, 8 Trey. Yep, that's him. His verse was fire, but he said that on the song. He the one that did that to J-Dot.
The girl would arrange to meet J-Dot in Hackney. When J-Dot would arrive, rival ZT members Trey, Psycho, and Asbo would attack him. However, luckily J-Dot would be able to flee the attackers, making it out alive. During this time, J-Dot was actually unaware that he was set up by the girl, and over the next few hours, the ZT members would search the E9 postcode for J-Dot. However, they couldn't find him. The girl would arrange to meet J-Dot and his friend around Hummerton High Street. The attackers would then be fed this information and would arrive on the scene moments later. J-Dot would be stabbed 3 times in the chest, with one of his wounds breaking his ribs and piercing his heart. The attackers would flee following the attack, with police and emergency services arriving on the scene moments later. However, despite the attempts of medical professionals, J-Dot would sadly be pronounced dead only moments later, with another murder investigation being launched. The investigation would see the arrests of 4 people, including the girl, who would be found guilty and would be given 14 years in prison. Trey from ZT would be found guilty of the murder and would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 16 years. Psycho, who would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 18 years and 6 months, and an unnamed 14-year-old boy, who is thought to be Asbo from ZT, would be sentenced to 12 years for his role in the murder of J-Dot. Rest in peace, J-Dot. Following the death of J-Dot, an image would start to surface on—
These niggas is little boys catching bodies, bro. And my TV just turned off. Turn that shit back on, man. These niggas is little boys catching bodies, bro. Like this
on the internet.
is
This
crazy.
image depicted J-Dot's dead body, with it being extremely graphic, showing all of the wounds and scars that he had sustained from the attack. And it would be in 2022 that an unreleased song would be leaked onto the internet, this being titled JD's Corpse, and was an extremely disrespectful song, with the rapper being Lats. Lats would actually rap one of the most disturbing choruses, with him rapping, "We got a picture of JD's corpse, free Asbo, always in my thoughts. He ain't got no remorse behind the cell doors." With this being one of the most insane
Fucking
bars
crash
I
out.
think I've personally ever heard. Rest in peace, J-Dot. It would be following the death of J-Dot that members on both sides would begin to drop music in the underground UK drill scene. In 2016, a member of ZT known as Asco would drop UK drill anthems. An example of this would be Zuvi, which gained loads of attention and currently sits on around 1.1 million views. He would also drop a song titled Last Night in London Fields, which sits on around 2.8 million views. It would also be around 2017 that a young member of Niners would begin to gain attention, this being Unknown T, who would drop a song titled Bop with Smoke, which sits on around 888,000 views. But it wouldn't be until 2018 that Unknown T would drop a serious UK anthem that blew his career into the mainstream UK rap scene. It would also be around 2017 that an active member of Niners would begin to get active within the streets, this member being known as Shags or Shaggy, who would allegedly go on to kill 2 people before then becoming victim to the streets himself. On the 13th of November 2017, 6 members of Niners, including Shags, would travel from E9 to Stoke Newington, which is around a 15-minute drive. The 6 members would spot an alleged affiliate of Stokey 16, which is a gang that's based around Stoke Newington and has had beef with 98s for years. Anyways, the 6 members would see Khan Aslan, who was supposedly in the wrong place at the wrong time. The 6 members would jump out on Khan Aslan and would stab him multiple times, with one of these wounds even going through his heart. The 6 attackers would flee following this attack, with police and emergency services being called to the scene. Sadly, Khan Aslan would be pronounced dead on the scene, with a murder investigation being launched moments later. This investigation would only see the arrest of 1 member, this being a member known as Bruno, who would be arrested shortly after the murder and would be charged for it. Bruno would actually be the only one ever arrested, and in 2019, he would be found guilty. And
How the fuck did they not catch the rest of the 5? What did he do wrong? What did you do wrong to get caught? What the fuck? How are you the only one? That would have threw me off. I ain't gonna lie.
Be
I would have
sentenced
been
to
blown.
life with a minimum of 27 years. Rest in peace, Khan Aslan. Now, the beef would be very hot during this time, and only around 2 months after the death of Khan Aslan, another person would fall victim to the streets. However, this time, the person that would die would have no relation to any beef, with them being a civilian, and unknown T even fighting the murder charge. On the 1st of January 2018, multiple members of the Niners gang would be attending a New Year's party. The members thought to have been present would be unknown T and Shags, as well as a few other unknown 98's members. A civilian known as Steve Narvaez Jara would also be present at the party. Steve would approach the 98's members and would have an argument with them about a girl. The 98's members would begin to get aggressive, with the incident turning into a massive brawl, with dozens of people hitting and kicking Steve. He would also be stabbed and would be rushed to hospital moments later. However, despite the attempts of medical professionals, Steve would sadly be pronounced dead in hospital hours later, with a murder investigation being launched. The investigation would actually be silent for months, with them searching for the killers. However, by the time they could charge anyone, Shags would have become a victim to the streets. Police would then charge unknown T and 2 others for the murder. However, they would all beat the case. Rest in peace, Steve Narvaez Jara. Due to the fact that Shags was becoming well known in the streets, his rivals would be looking for any chance to catch him, and sadly this road lifestyle would catch up to him in April 2018, only 4 months after the death of Steve Narvaez Jara. It would be around 2018 that young members of both gangs would begin to drop serious UK drill bangers. In February 2018, Lats from ZT would drop a song titled Smackdown, which gained loads of attention, currently sitting on around 1.1 million views. Both gangs would gain millions of views in 2018, with rappers like Unknown T from 98's and Ballistic from ZT gaining tens of millions of views. However, despite all of the new eyes looking in on the music scene, there was still a war going on within the streets, and it would be Shags that would sadly be the next person to die as a result of the beef. On the 4th of April 2018, Shags would be pedal biking through his block in order to meet some friends. However, what he didn't know was that 2 of his ops would be on the lurk. Moments later, Shags would spot his 2 ops, these 2 being known as B2 and TB. Once the 2 parties would see each other, a knife fight would ensue. Shags would actually stab B2 multiple times. However, whilst he was attacking B2, TB would stab Shags multiple times, with one of the stab wounds piercing his heart. Sadly, Shags would be pronounced.
Woo! Boy, these niggas spotted boy. Oh my god, boy. These niggas spotted each other in the middle of the block. Had a knife fight. Fighting each other. He got the better of one, bruh. Yinged him up. His mans, because it's 2v1, his mans came around the corner. Ying, 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 ying. And then ying him up. And then now 2 bodies is dropped. Damn.
Dead on the scene. With police and emergency services arriving shortly after the attack, a murder investigation would be launched. This saw the arrest of B2, whose blood would be found on the scene. B2 would be charged and found guilty for the murder. He would then be sentenced to life with a minimum of 17 years. TB would actually flee the country following the attack, with it being alleged he's still on the run. Rest in peace,
That
Shags.
nigga is still on the run. He got the fuck. Oh my gosh. This nigga got the fuck. Yo. Hey, go the fuck head, bro. That is crazy.
This is actually remembered in loads of 98 songs. In Unknown T's Fire in the Booth, he would rap "Rest Up Shaggy, he got B2 no leggies," with this being a reference to how B2 was stabbed on the same occasion Shags died on. Following the death of Shags, a member of Niners known as Unknown T would drop a UK drill anthem titled Homerton B, which blew up and currently sits on around 29 million views. With this
Damn.
level of success blowing Unknown T up, with him even starting to be booked for shows across UK, which is crazy for someone who has such close ties to the streets. However, Niners weren't the only gang blowing in the UK drill scene. ZT would also be gaining attention, with a member known as Ballistic dropping a UK drill banger titled Who's Next. This song gained loads of attention and currently sits on around 14 million views, which
Damn.
is crazy numbers for a UK drill rapper. Now, the beef between 98's and ZT would continue following the death of Shags. However, a lot of the incidents that occurred between the gangs aren't actually known, so I won't be discussing the alleged incidents between the gangs. It would be around 2019 and 20 that new members from 98's would gain attention. These members included V9, KO, and DA, who all gained millions of views after dropping serious UK drill anthems, and it would be in September 2020 that all of these rappers would link up and would drop one of the most well-known UK drill albums, this being titled Class of 98's, which gained loads of attention, with each song on the album having hundreds of thousands of views. If anything, it was clear that the rappers from both ZT and 98's had serious potential and had begun showing this in the UK drill music scene. ZT ZT would also be making noise around 2020, with a member known as Blacka dropping seriously disrespectful bars, with fans even questioning if he was as active as he made out to be. However, it would be in October 2020 that Blacka would prove how dangerous he was, with Blacka currently serving 35 years for this incident. On the 11th of October 2020, Blacka and another man would arm themselves with a machine pistol and would travel around Hackney in search of any rival gang members. The two members would come to a stop near a children's playground within the E9 postcode. Blacka would then rise his gun and would start shooting randomly into the park. He would shoot around 13 bullets and would hit 3 people. This included a 60-year-old, 32-year-old, and 24-year-old who would be rushed to hospital following the shooting and were not involved in the beef. Luckily, all 3 would make a recovery. With the 2 attackers fleeing in a stolen car, an investigation would be launched following
the fuck is that?
For 2020, that Blacka would prove how dangerous he was, with Blacka currently serving 35
years. Who the fuck is that Indian man?
On the 11th of October 2020, Blacka and another man would arm themselves with a machine pistol and would travel around Hackney in search of any rival gang members. The 2 members would come to a stop near a children's playground within the E9 postcode. Blacka would then rise his gun and would start shooting randomly into the park. He would shoot around 13 bullets and would hit 3 people. This included a 60-year-old, 32-year-old, and 24-year-old who would be rushed to hospital following the shooting and were not involved in the beef. Luckily, all 3 would make a recovery. With the 2 attackers...
What is going on? Who is that nigga? Who is this? Why are you just shooting discriminately into the goddamn park? You didn't even stop to check if you saw anybody? You just pulled up and just let it spray? What the fuck is wrong with these niggas?
Fleeing in a stolen car, an investigation would be launched following the shooting, with officers watching hundreds of hours of CCTV, with them eventually arresting Blacka and the second man. Both men would be found guilty and would be sentenced. Blacka would be sentenced to 35 years, whilst the other man was sentenced to 27 years. Following the violent triple shooting, members from both...
You know why? You know why they gave his ass 35? Because you walking around, you rolling around... You driving around with a machine gun, my nigga. Machine gun. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from? How do you receive that?
Gangs would be seriously popping in the music scene. An example of this was KO, who by this time had amassed around 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, dropping serious bangers like Niner Ting and Avengers, which both have over 10 million streams on Spotify. However, KO would find himself fighting a murder case that he got himself wrapped up in around the height of his career, with 2 people being killed in 2022. On the 3rd of June 2022, an OG member of LFB known as Hypo would be at a party within East London. He would get into an altercation with a bouncer present at the party. This bouncer was actually known as Bigga and was from Enfield. Hypo would threaten Bigga with a Rambo-style knife. Bigga would then leave this altercation, returning with a kitchen knife, which Bigga then used to stab Hypo multiple times in the chest. Police and emergency services would be called to the scene following the stabbing.
Boy, you mean to tell me the bouncer went and caught a body? I ain't gonna lie, you threatened him with the Rambo, bruh. Sorry. I don't know, officer. He threatened me with a Rambo, but I don't know. They might say that's conspiracy because you left and went to go get a weapon and then came back and did that to him. So you might be going to jail, buddy.
Sadly, Hypo would be pronounced dead only moments later, with a murder investigation being launched. Bigga would be arrested shortly after the attack and would stand trial. However, he would be cleared of the charges on the basis of...
They got him off self-defense. What? I mean, shit, that's why I said if you was going to go to that route, self-defense, you did pull out the zombie knife on him first, bruh. Look, he pulled it out first, bruh. So you could play it like that. But that's what I'm saying. I was also saying, too, they could play it off of it being like a premeditated murder because you left the scene and went to go get a weapon. You know what I'm saying? You could have left the scene and gone home. And nobody would be dead. You know what I mean? But
self-defense.
Killed
Rest
him,
in
but
peace,
he got
Hypo.
off. That's
Following
crazy.
the death of Hypo, members within the LFB gang would begin to have an issue with each other, as Bigga's cousin is actually an LFB member known as Tiny. This then meaning that the LFB gang had started to have in-house issues. However, these have luckily not escalated to anything serious. It would only be around 2 months after the death of Hypo that a member of 98's known as Gashi would be stabbed by ZT members. 98's members would plan to spin back following the stabbing on Gashi, and only a day later, 98's members including KO and Hitman would get their retaliation. On the 13th of August 2022, 4 members associated with the 98's gang would ride out onto rival ZT territory. Both KO and Hitman.
So that murder, they caught the body a day later? Woo! Boy, these niggas is not playing with each other, bruh.
Would be present on this rideout, as well as 2 other members. The members would spot KB, who was a member of ZT, and the older LFB gang. KB was actually celebrating at his baby's first birthday party, when the members would pull up shooting at him. KB would be hit in this shooting, and would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene. With paramedics and police arriving moments later, a murder investigation would be launched following the murder. KO knew that he was going to be arrested in connection, so he would hit the studio, recording as much music as possible. However, only days later, KO and Hitman, as well as other members present, would all be arrested for the murder, and it would be in the end that all 4 members were charged and found guilty for the murder of KB.
It ain't no because he knew they was coming. Nah, this nigga was talking about it on the internet, bro. He admitted details that only the shooter would know on a song. That's why they caught him. If he would have just caught the body and shut the fuck up, maybe he would be still out right now. I don't know. Who knows? Did you leave evidence at the scene? You know what I'm saying? That you got to take that into account as well. So I don't know.
All 4 members have been convicted, but are yet to be sentenced. Rest in peace, KB. During the trial, the court would actually use a song that KO would release a month following the death of KB. This song being titled Laughing Stock, with some very disrespectful bars that alluded to the incident, with KO rapping, "Funny how we are the laughing stock. Someone gets slapped, now the laughing stopped," as well as another bar, "Big Booth and Little Booth got hit. Same sig, that's a sour family." With this bar in particular referring to how both Booth and his older brother were both shot with the same pistol, presumably a Sig Sauer pistol. The arrests of KO and Hitman would affect 98's members heavily, with KO being extremely close to blowing in the drill scene. However, he chose to focus on the road life, and now must deal with the consequences. Since the death of KB, no other major incidents have occurred within the streets. If you have learned anything from this video, make sure that it's to stay away from the road.
These niggas crazy, boy. I ain't gonna lie. These niggas is crazy as hell. Niggas is crazy, my boy. I'm not gonna hold you. Tap that link down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy J Steph, man. We gone.